primary day on Tuesday, my turn to opine among the Republicans who is good. This is an extra edition of the Daily Fire for August 10th. So I'm Mark Stewart Greenstein. I'm an independent. I will not be part of either primary this August. I'm on the general election in November, and that means my party, the newly formed Americans for Minimal Government Party, doesn't have a stake here. And I don't really care who among those 5 Republicans ends up victorious. I actually think if you're a conservative, if you're a libertarian, if you're an open-minded independent, you'll find me better than any one of the 5. So I'll give my assessment. It doesn't matter for much, but here goes in reverse order. Stemmerman and Stefanowski, I put them together because they are hard to distinguish. And by the way, all 5 are good men. All 5 would be part of my cabinet, okay? But they're not as good as me. Stemmerman, Stefanowski have a big weakness that I'm not going to identify here because one of them could be my opponents. But I do want to say that neither of them goes far enough to make the serious changes that we need to do here in Connecticut. They lambaste Connecticut's problems, but we all know that. In fact, the Republican debates, like 40 to 45% of the time, they spend identifying things that we all know are problematic and not giving crisp solutions. So that's a failure on their part. Obsitnik hasn't made enemies, doesn't make big waves, seems very competent. I like an ex-Navy guy. I like an entrepreneur, innovator type. I think there are better places for him within the state to improve it. Herbst, probably the most conservative among the 5, but not conservative enough. He's not proposing strong enough change. When he says, I'll cut income taxes for people making under $75,000 a year, well, look what that prescribes. Basically, we're inviting needy people to stay and pretty much telling well-off people, go away because your taxes are going to stay the same or even go up. That's a bad message to a state that's losing its well-off people in part because of its tax code. Finally, Mark Boughton, the establishment candidate. And this is what I'm running against more than anything else, is established over and over, same old politics that have gotten us into big trouble. Mark Boughton, from here, smacks of Lower Weicker Jody Rell. Okay? Get along, go along, status matters, and real innovation, that doesn't seem to be for him. Well, that's gotten us into real trouble. Okay? Again, good man, good teacher as far as I'm told from people that I've met, but not going to be a good governor of this state. I hope to be in a position where in late October, people look at Mark Stewart and say, I'm conservative, and between Stewart and whoever that Republican is, the Republicans should give way. That they're the ones who should bow out to have somebody that Republicans wish they had on our side. And someday maybe I will be. But right now it's to establish an independent party. The Americans for Minimal Government Party is pure. It is more full of vim, vigor, and fight than any of those 5 that are on the ballot now. 4 years from now, I hope there will be a primary within the Amigo Party to succeed me. I'm not running for governor again in 2022, so hopefully we get established as a major party with 20% of the vote, and that is a pretty good victory even if I don't make it to the top. But let's go for the 51%. 51% is possible. It's because adherence to independence outnumber adherence to Democrat or adherence to Republican, okay? We are, by plurality, the biggest party. We haven't had anyone yet representing us prominently. Well, here you go. I'm the guy for independents and conservatives and Democrats who feel that their leadership has just gone way leftward, wayward, I would say, and whether they pick Lamont or Ganim next week, you end up with a socialist running Connecticut. That is dangerous. My campaign for the next 2 months, win or lose, will point out the evils, literally evils, of forced socialism. They use a nice word called progressivism, but it is forced socialism. And let me tell you, the best of the Republicans is not on the ballot. He got knocked out in the convention back in May. And that was Peter Lumage. He's the one guy with whom, if he were nominated as the Republican, I might have sat down. He, or potentially Mark Loretti, would be my chief of staff. They're high up in the running. Mark might be making a governor bid after all with the Independent Party, so this will make a very interesting race. I welcome them to the cabinet as well. Again, those two fairly conservative guys, I think, may have been the best stand-up that the Republicans could put up. They're not doing that. Please look to me after these primaries. I'm Mark Stewart. Thank you for listening.